Welcome, everybody. I'm Steve Milton, and this is Miles Gorrell. I should say the Honorable Miles Gorrell, because Miles is the newest member of the Hamilton Ticats Wall of Honor. Congratulations, first of all.
Thank you
Miles.
very much, Steve.
Bob Young called you to tell you, I think.
No, actually, it was Scott Mitchell.
Scott Mitchell called. Tell me
Yeah.
what that was like. Did you know it was coming? Could you have guessed?
No, never. I wasn't paying attention really, and it was a 416 number, and I don't pay attention to 416 numbers because
You don't like anybody in Toronto?
No, it's just like most of the 416 numbers are
robocalls.
Yeah, robocalls. I have no interest in it, and then I get the voicemail because there's usually no voicemail, and there was voice from Scott Mitchell. Why would Scott Mitchell be phoning me? Like, am I going to get a couple of free tickets? I'm looking forward to that, because I love going to
Scott Mitchell, for everybody, in case you don't know, in case you've been under a rock for the last 10 years, is the managing partner of the ownership group of the Hamilton Ticats and a Forge.
Yeah, and a football player, he played, and it's fun, like I see him all the time when we go to Ticat games, and my wife was in the room and she's going, you almost teared up, and I go, yeah, it's quite an honor. Hamilton is very near and dear to my heart because I had a lot of good memories here, and I got to play with a lot of great guys, and I might not remember what I had for lunch yesterday, but I can name everybody in the team.
Almost teared up. Almost.
Okay.
Come on now.
Okay, like I look up there and I see the names like, Barrow and, Ellison Kelly, and, I got great memories from those guys from my youth.
Right.
And then, seeing Ben Zambiazzi and Rocky DiPietro, my teammates, and I just get emotional because it's all part of our life and our past, and as we approach our senior years, you have
I've heard about that.
You have a lot of memories. You don't have a lot of tangible evidence, but besides the aches and pains,
Right.
But everybody has those at our age, and I just get to remember all the good times. I mean, Rocky and I, we started out as 18-year-olds at Ottawa U and found our way to play together for 6-7 years with the Ticats, and lifelong friends, and it's very, very, very enjoyable for those memories.
Well, speaking about Rocky and teammates, I think there are 7 of you now, including you. You're the only just the 27th person to be named as a player to this, right? And there are 3 builders now that Bernie got in last year. It's harder to get on the Ticats Wall of Honor, much harder than it is to get into the Canadian Football Hall of Fame. There's far more Ticats that are in the Canadian Football Hall of Fame than are on that wall, and there's good reasons for that.
I am so extremely honored. Like I say, looking at those names every time, season ticket holder, I go to the games. I sit with a bunch of great people at the games, right on the 50-yard line. My buddy Rob Morash has 8 season tickets right there, and they're all great guys, and it's a lot of fun. My wife Suzanne and I enjoy coming to the games, and our daughters still come to the games, and I see a lot of people. And you got to remember, 30 years ago, I haven't played, in 30 years, so people still remember. They know.
There's still some sweaters on that side of the stadium that say Gorrell on the back.
And it's not even my family, which is amazing. And I didn't sell any jerseys, so it couldn't be that reason. So I love Hamiltonians, like ever since the days that, we played here we used to call it, when I lived in Calgary and played for the Stampeders, we used to call it Never Win Stadium because we had a hard time playing here and winning here. It was difficult. It's a different person that goes to games here, and it's a different mentality when you play here. The black and gold is it's tough. They're tough people. They're tough players, and I enjoy the Ticat games.
You've had an awful lot of honors in your career and your life, both on and off the field. Canadian Football Hall of Fame, the Ticats walk of Fame, a number of other, I think, are you in one of Calgary's maybe?
No,
University of Ottawa.
University of Ottawa. I'm in
Hall
the
of Fame.
Ontario University Athletic Hall of Fame. But you know that
Where's this ranked?
65. This was the #1 honor.
#1 honor.
I love the Canadian Football Hall of Fame because it encompasses all of football in Canada, which, you know, I did play high school, I did play junior, I did play university football, and I played pro football in Canada. So I've run the gamut. I was too big to play minor football. You know, they had a 145-pound weight restriction. And I don't think anybody in my family can ever remember when I was under 145.
Well, yeah, you've always been
large,
fairly big, and I want to tell you a story because it relates back to Scott Mitchell, the CEO of the Hamilton Sports Group, who's also the managing partner. His father, of course, was
Doug Mitchell.
Doug Mitchell was the CFL commissioner, but also then became owner on the ownership group in Calgary. So he was very aware, and he remembers you and his father talking about you as a mountain of a man. He said, very much a free spirit. We got to watch this guy, a mountain. And then he later gets to vote on the Ticats have 7 people that vote on who gets into to the wall or onto the wall of honor. He says it's the most important day of the year. And this is a guy that runs big businesses, and to everybody else in the Ticat organization, it was incredible to listen to them become fans again and to listen to the stories. You had a big backer in that meeting in your line coach, John Salvanis, who pointed out a number of things. And I want to point this one out, which is stunning, considering the position you played. Your last 10 years, didn't miss a game.
No,
10 years. At the end of your career, of a 19-year career, did not miss a single game. And he said, didn't miss a practice when he was here with the Ticats.
I didn't believe in it. I tried to instill that in my children.
Right.
You know, like, you work hard, you get rewarded.
Right.
I played the sport because I enjoyed it. It was fun, and I didn't have to grow up. And, you know, it was this. I had John very much take me under his wing in 1985. Right. And I broke my arm in the first game I played for, you know, Hamilton, and it's the only 5 games I ever missed. I just, I wanted to play for John. Right.
John Salvanis was the offensive line coach. You'll often know, Ticats.ca viewers will and listeners will know him because it's Coach Sal. And
Coach Sal
analyzes games for us.
And he, you know, we went out for lunch last week. It was just one of those things that I still consider him a friend and a mentor. Right. And he put up with my crap.
Okay, what is that crap? And what was that crap? You were, I've heard you referred to as a free spirit, as a guy you got to sort of keep your hand on, but also a very reliable guy. We'll get to that part. But
you know, it's like my dad. It took my dad a while to figure me out because I wasn't black and white. I was one of those gray areas all the time. I was going to push the envelope to see what I really
could get away with.
You know, go mow the lawn, no. Go shovel the driveway, no. But I always did it because, you know, Mom would come and say, excuse me? Okay, I'll go do it. You know, why you aggravate your dad like that? And I go, no. Huge change in my life in '86 when I was nominated for the Leo Danduran. I won the Leo Danduran Award for Eastern, you know,
Conference Lineman of the Year, right?
Yeah, and, you know, I got to take Mom and Dad. And we were going to the Grey Cup. And, you know, my dad and I got to introduce my dad to Jackie Parker, Angelo Mosco, all his heroes from when because he was a huge fan of the CFL. He had season tickets in Edmonton. Him and I used to go to games. As a 5-year-old, I'd go with him, and he'd put me in the knothole gang in the end zone in Edmonton. That's where I got my start of loving the CFL. Right. I got to watch all those guys, you know, and my dad and I would ride the bus there, and then we'd go home, and you know, you'd put them, you know, it was a little square in the chain link fence. Right. Push the kid through there. There's 200 kids that run around for a couple hours, and then they'd all be standing against the fence waiting for their dad to come by. And you know, like as soon as you got in the bus, you'd fall asleep. Dad'd take you in the house because that's the way it was back there.
And you got to take
I got to take Mom and Dad to the '86 Grey Cup.
For those people that don't know, the Ticats won the 1986 Grey Cup. They've only won one Grey Cup since then, unfortunately. I hate to keep bringing it up, but facts are facts.
Yeah.
And that club had lost in '84 in the finals, or in the Grey Cup, had, to Winnipeg, and then the next year lost
with BC.
With BC, and I think your mantra that year, I've talked to a lot of guys, Mike Walker, as I say, 7 of them are on that wall of honor now, and we've talked to all of them, and they all say the same thing. Nothing was going to make that 3 in a row. We weren't going to be the team that lost 3 in a row. So that was the year that people remember. And you actually, I wouldn't say we're fortunate, but you got through.
Well,
the
there was
final.
a lot of pieces to fall in place. Our quarterbacking situation, we all came together, 85, and then the pieces, and then 86, the training camp, everybody had another year together, and, we were sputtering when we started, but Ben Zambia was such a great leader, Paul Bennett was such a great leader, Mike Walker was Les Brown, but he was injured, but Lance Shields, there was so many guys, Leo Ezrins, and Dave Sauvé, Rod Skillman, and it was Grover, and I had so much fun with Grover, and Grover and I played against each other, played with each other, and we had a lot of fun together. God, we went to WWE wrestling matches together. It was fun. And Mike Walker was probably my favorite player because he was so tough and he played, and he never really complained. Not like crying to the referees. He played so damn hard and he never gave up, and it was fun. And that's kind of one of the reasons I think of Rocky all the time is Rocky played hard.
Right.
If you were going to go across
hardcore Sault Ste. Marie guy.
Yeah, it was fun. It was just the guys. I love them. Even when Paul Ballison came in as a kicker, and I don't like kickers. No. Kickers are not real football players. Paul was. Paul liked to drink beer, like J.T. Hay, my buddy from Calgary, but Paul's a good guy. I just liked our whole team, the makeup. All the guys got along. It's not that we had to go out and party together or be together.
But there was some of that.
There was, and we had a lot of fun. Getting back to the free spirit thing is, I didn't believe that the rules should apply to people that didn't cause problems, and I didn't cause problems. I didn't. Breaking curfew is not really a problem, as long as you showed up the next day and played.
Which you did. I mean, as John Salavanis said, you didn't come off the field even during practice. Nope. That was, you're trying to set an example, but it also you like to play. Now, if I can, we've only got another minute or so left here. Then in 1989, so 84, 85, 86, you guys all make the final, you win the Grey Cup, it's a legendary team. And then in 89, you played in what I consider still, to this day, certainly the best Grey Cup. We might have just had one recently that was pretty well as good. I still think the best professional football game ever. Now, you lost that game on the final. What do you remember about that, and how do you feel about that in terms of games, like where it ranks?
Watching, the defense and the offense, you get to, I've probably watched the game 20 times, 30 times, and you always, as an evaluator in the Canadian Football League, I rank myself in there, and I go.
I'll just remind people that you scouted and you were a personnel director.
I try and watch the film as a critique of mine, and that '89 Grey Cup, I would like to have done a few things different, and it was a great game. Saskatchewan had a great game, and they won the breaks, and
50,000 people in the Sky Dome. We thought the CFL was here,
they had fun. We entertained the people that day, and that's what you're there for. In the end, we're professional athletes, but we were there to entertain the people, and I think they got their money's worth that day.
Greatest moment you had in the field? Can you think of?
Probably, I'm gonna sound, the '86 Grey Cup was great, and I enjoyed it, and for a lot of reasons.
No doubt in that game, you won early and often.
But there's a lot of things during that game I won't discuss on this. But I have a picture from my last professional game And it was a great picture by John Sokolowski, who's been taking pictures for as long as I can remember. And it's just my back. I have 321, which is how many games I played in regular season games, not exhibition games, not playoff
The
games.
most at the time by a non-kicker ever in this league.
And you see the 321, and only I know who's on the other side of me, who I'm talking to. It's John.
Oh, really?
It's my last game ever.
Right.
The Hamilton scoreboard is in the background.
Perfect.
It's the end.
That's a perfect ending for this one. I'll remind people that the Wall of Honor game is against BC. It's a Thursday night. It's unusual this year, just the way it worked out in August. August the 7th
yeah.
and August the 6th is the Wall of Honor dinner featuring our guest today. And that money goes to a very good cause. So I advise people, if you can, to buy tickets. First of all, it's been great stories. We never got to we got to less than 1% of the stuff that you can tell us, but a lot of it'll come out that night. The money goes for the Alumni Association Fund, which helps former players in need, whatever that need happens to be. That's something you believe in strongly, right?
Yeah, very strongly. Yeah, there's a lot of guys that get down on their luck, and we all try and help. You know, our contemporaries. You know, it's how you were brought up, and you know how we were raised in the CFL. You know, we always were doing things. You know, I got 1 million pictures at home. Well, it's not 1 million. I got 150 pictures at home of me in hospitals.
Right.
You know, and I've met these kids again. You know, which is really, you know, when I go back to Calgary and I meet somebody that's in their 40s, and I met you when I was a kid. You came to my school. You came to my hospital bed when I was laid up in school, and you don't know what to say, because they've obviously survived and they meant something because they remember you.
Right.
And it's cool. My kids think it's cool when we walk through Hamilton, Calgary, very, very big football places, right? You know, Calgary, Regina. They remember Miles Gorrell. Other than the guy that's supposed to be a wild child. You know, I'm not that wild child anymore.
There's no way to forget Miles Gorrell. Now, for more on Miles, please go to ticats.ca and all of our social platforms. And don't forget the Wall of Honor game in August. I want to thank Miles Gorrell, and congratulations. Couldn't have gone to a better human being. And I want to emphasize that human being part, because part of the criterion, and an absolute must on this, and you not only have had to have played for the Ticats for 5 or 6 years and had big honors and that kind of thing, you had to distinguish yourself in the community. It's the number 1 or 2 criterion for the Wall of Honor. You met it easily, so thanks again, Miles.
Thank you very much, Steve. I'm very proud.